Documents reveal epidemic cover-up. CCP lab possessed early COVID virus map. Deep economic impact. China sees population decline for 2 straight years. The CCP again publishes youth unemployment rate. Data improvements draw doubt. CCP states migrant workers earn nearly $700 monthly. Netizens accuse officials of deception. Beijing targets European Brandy following electric vehicle subsidy dispute. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Documents reveal epidemic cover-up. CCP lab possessed early COVID virus map. In spite of more than 4 years passing since the onset of COVID-19, global attention to the Chinese Communist Party's concealment of the epidemic has not waned. On January 17, U.S. media cited information from U.S. congressional investigators, revealing that Chinese researchers had already isolated and charted the virus responsible for COVID-19 by the end of December 2019. This disclosure occurred at least 2 weeks prior to the CCP's release of the virus's genetic sequence to the international community. According to reports in the Wall Street Journal, documents acquired by the U.S. House Energy and Commerce Committee from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services indicate that on December 28, 2019, Lily Ren of the Institute of Pathogen Biology at the Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences uploaded an almost complete structural sequence of the virus to a database operated by the U.S. government. Despite being aware of the structural information concerning this new virus, Chinese officials, at that time, continued to publicly label the outbreak of pneumonia in Wuhan as of unknown cause. They also did not immediately close down the Huanan seafood wholesale market, one of the initial locations of the COVID-19 outbreak. China's delay costs the world 2 critical weeks. The timeline provided by the World Health Organization, WHO, indicates that the CCP did not share information about the virus's genetic sequence with the WHO until January 11, 2020, which was 2 weeks after the December 28, 2019 date. These additional 2 weeks were considered pivotal by experts, as they could have played a crucial role in helping the global medical community understand how COVID-19 spreads, develop medical defenses, and initiate research for a vaccine. At the end of 2019, scientists and governments worldwide were racing against time to comprehend this enigmatic disease, later named COVID-19. The virus tracking timeline updated by the WHO on June 30, 2020, reveals that the CCP did not proactively inform the WHO after the outbreak. Instead, WHO officials themselves first became aware of pneumonia of unknown cause on December 31, 2019, and requested relevant information from Chinese authorities on January 1, 2020. It was only on January 3 that the CCP provided information about cases of pneumonia of unknown cause to the WHO. Previously, Chinese experts met with WHO officials on January 3, 2020, in Beijing but did not disclose that this new disease was caused by the COVID virus, even though Chinese officials were already aware of this fact. Jesse Bloom, a virologist at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in Seattle, said that the fact Chinese researchers uploaded the virus sequence to the database indicates that, at the very least, prior to December 28, 2019, scientists in China were indeed aware that this pneumonia was caused by a novel coronavirus. U.S. Congressman can't trust any data provided by the CCP. Kathy McMorris Rogers, chairwoman of the U.S. House Energy and Commerce Committee, whose mission is to investigate the virus's origin, asserted that a researcher from a Chinese laboratory affiliated with the CCP government had already isolated and mapped the virus before the CCP made it public. This indicates that the United States should not place trust in any information or data presented by the CCP. Virologist Bloom emphasized the need for caution when considering the accuracy of information released by the Chinese government, especially the CCP. It is crucial to keep in mind how little we actually know about the virus's origin. Chinese researchers, including Ren Lili, who submitted the virus sequence, did not respond to requests for comments from the media. The spokesperson for the Chinese embassy stated that China's COVID response policies are scientifically sound, effective, and aligned with China's unique circumstances, and they have withstood the test of time. The CCP not only concealed information about the pandemic but also obstructed the investigation by the WHO. In March 2021, the WHO released a report on the virus's origin, but Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus noted that the WHO investigative team had limited access to data in China regarding the virus's origin, necessitating further investigation. In August 2021, the U.S. House Republicans published a report on tracing the virus's origins. The report extensively detailed activities in Wuhan and its surrounding areas before the outbreak, suggesting that the virus may have been circulating as early as September 2019. Jamie Metzel, a member of the WHO Advisory Committee, stated in an interview with Fox News at that time, the CCP have systematically engaged in cover-ups, including destroying samples, concealing records, and silencing Chinese scientists. This is unacceptable. Therefore, Democratic and Republican leaders in Congress must collaborate to find common ground in uncovering the truth, as there are many unanswered questions in China. Deep economic impact. China sees population decline for 2 straight years. Over the past 3 years, the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in a significant number of fatalities in China. Even the number of deaths last year announced by the CCP after the cover-up reached the highest level since the Cultural Revolution in 1974. This, in conjunction with persistently low birth rates, has led to a consecutive 2-year decline in China's population. According to the National Bureau of Statistics of the Chinese Communist Party, by the end of 2023, China's total population had decreased by 2.08 million, with a birth rate of 6.39 per thousand, hitting a historic low, and a natural population growth rate of -1.48 per thousand. Due to the Chinese Communist Party's history of concealing data, the actual figures may be even worse. However, Chinese citizens are not surprised by 2 consecutive years of negative population growth and historically low birth rates. Within this context, China's population structure continues to deteriorate despite various incentive measures implemented by the Chinese Communist authorities to encourage childbirth. Unfortunately, these efforts have yielded counterproductive results. Meanwhile, the Chinese economy remains mired in an extended period of stagnation. In 2023, youth unemployment in China exceeded 20%, reaching an all-time high. Decreased incomes for the workforce and the erosion of family wealth have further dampened the aspirations of young people to start families, as they perceive themselves unable to afford marriage and children. This, in turn, creates a vicious cycle. The CCP again publishes youth unemployment rate, data improvements draw doubt. The National Bureau of Statistics of China released youth unemployment data again on January 17, claiming that the national urban surveyed unemployment rate in December last year was 5.1%. The labor force survey unemployment rates for 16 to 24-year-olds, 25 to 29-year-olds, and 30 to 59-year-olds, excluding school students, are 14.9%, 6.1%, and 3.9% respectively. This is the first time that officials have released relevant data since they announced a suspension of youth unemployment data in August last year. Before August last year, China's youth unemployment rate was as high as 21.3% for June. The National Bureau of Statistics claimed that the purpose of excluding school students from the unemployment rate data this time is to more accurately reflect the employment and unemployment situation of young people. However, mainland netizens expressed doubts and ridiculed this adjusted data. Some people say, "How did the unemployment rate drop? If you don't register as unemployed, you are not considered unemployed. If you want to be unemployed, you must contact the relevant department to register." Some people also say that the unemployment rate for fresh graduates should exceed 40%. There are also questions. The National Urban Survey unemployment rate is 5.2%. Have you been surveyed? What about the unemployment rate in those rural areas? Taiwan's general economist Wu Jialong also said that the Chinese Communist Party's economic data has no credibility, and it is meaningless no matter how it is released. Similarly, former Chinese lawyer Liang Xiaohua said that Beijing's data are political data, fabricated according to the leader's preferences and cannot be trusted. CCP states migrant workers earn nearly $700 monthly. Netizens accuse officials of deception. Not only did they report positive figures for improved unemployment rates, but on January 17, the Chinese National Bureau of Statistics also released data stating that the average monthly income for Chinese migrant workers is 4,780 yuan, approximately $671.50. Mainland internet users have criticized this number as being falsified. During a January 17 press conference presenting the Chinese Communist Party's 2023 national economic performance, the director of the National Bureau of Statistics disclosed that in 2023, the total number of migrant workers reached 297.53 million, reflecting an increase of 1.91 million compared to the previous year, translating to a growth rate of 0.6%. Among them, 120.95 million were local migrant workers, representing a decrease of 2.2%, while 176.58 million were migrant workers employed outside their home regions, indicating a 2.7% increase. The reported average monthly income for these migrant workers was 4,780 yuan, marking a 3.6% increase from the previous year. This information sparked doubts among internet users. Some questioned, where are these migrant workers actually coming from? A netizen from Jiangsu expressed disbelief, asking, where in the world can someone earn over 4,000 yuan, about $562, as a migrant worker? Some even commented, I don't even earn a quarter of that. Certain internet users made sarcastic remarks, suggesting that with reported salaries like these migrant workers would have already reached the middle-class level. Earlier, on January 10, an article titled Migrant Workers Waiting by the Roadside in the Early Morning for Work was published by First Financial, describing the challenging conditions faced by migrant workers at the Luwan labor market, the largest casual labor distribution center in Zhengzhou. However, this article was swiftly removed. In the article, migrant workers revealed the difficulty of finding employment, with some spending entire days without securing any job opportunities. Beijing targets European Brandy following electric vehicle subsidy dispute. Chinese authorities earlier this month initiated an anti-dumping investigation against brandy liquor imported from the European Union (EU), a move seen as a tit-for-tat response to an EU probe into Chinese subsidies for electric vehicles (EVs). The European Commission pushed ahead with an anti-subsidy probe into Chinese EV imports in September, accusing China's massive state subsidies of artificially depressing the price of EVs and accordingly distorting market competition. The EU probe would probably lead to punitive tariffs on Chinese EVs. Countering the EU's move, China's Ministry of Commerce announced on January 5 that an anti-dumping investigation on EU-made liquors started on the same day and was expected to last up to 24 or 30 months. It explicitly stated that this investigation was conducted at the request of the China Alcoholic Drinks Association, which is said to have filed the petition late last year. Later that day, the market of several major European liquor groups immediately plunged, with shares of Rémy Cointreau, a major spirits maker, plummeting 10.93% to €97 that morning. Pernod Ricard, the world's second-largest producer of spirits and wine, slid 4.76% in shares. Even luxury giant LVMH, Louis Vuitton Moët Hennessy, was not immune, with its share sliding 1.96% due to part of its business involving wines and spirits. The liquor market downturn also rippled out to other EU countries. Campari, a typical Italian liqueur, saw its shares decrease by 1.99%. Diageo, the UK's leading whiskey company, met with a 1.87% decline. US-based current affairs commentator Xing Tianqing said on January 9 that the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, is targeting European brandy as its substantive retaliatory measure against the EU, as brandy is a pivotal export item for European countries. Between January and November 2023, China imported $1.57 billion of distilled wines, such as cognac and brandy, 99% of which originated in France. According to Mr. Xing, similar retaliatory measures had been frequently employed against other countries as economic coercion of Beijing, with Australia being a stark example. CCP orchestrated EV industry expansion. Mr. Xing said, to dominate the international EV market, the CCP has injected considerable state funds and subsidies to prop up a low-priced EV industry to capture the global market, which is barbaric behavior that squeezes other nations. Ursula von der Leyen, president of the EU Executive Committee, stated in the European Parliament on September 12, 2023, that the committee would launch an investigation into counter-subsidies for Chinese electric vehicles. Ms. von der Leyen said, global markets are now flooded with cheaper electric cars. And their price is kept artificially low by huge state subsidies. She said, Europe is open to competition. Not for a race to the bottom. Sigrid de Vries, Director General of the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, said that Chinese EVs have affected European automakers' domestic market share. Chinese automotive brand BYD Auto has expanded to 15 European countries, relying on price advantage. Its electric model Auto 3 was the best-selling EV in Sweden in July. Using the solar industry as an example, Ms. von der Leyen told MEPs, "We have not forgotten how China's unfair trade practices affected our solar industry." Many young businesses were pushed out by heavily subsidized Chinese competitors. Pioneering companies had to file for bankruptcy. French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire has sided with the EU's decision to investigate China's state subsidies on EVs. State-owned media claimed that from 2009 to 2021, the Chinese regime had thrown financial subsidies amounting to 129.5 billion yuan, about $18 billion, into the EV industry, supporting more than 1,959,900 EVs. Boosted by enormous funds, China's EV sales have increased more than 260 times in 12 years, from 5,209 units in 2009 to 1,367,000 units in 2020, with year-on-year increases of more than 100% in 2009, 2014, and 2015. In the first 10 months of 2021, even during the pandemic, sales of EVs exceeded 2.5 million units. Mr. Xing believes that Beijing's approach is contrary to how the international market operates, and it uses this kind of economic coercion as a strategic weapon, first to encroach the overseas market, then to entice politicians to back down on economic interests, thus to further influence or manipulate Western powerhouses. Therefore, Mr. Xing added, if all countries unite and adopt self-protection measures, it will deter Beijing's scheme. Raising another layer of opinion, media worker Lai Yiming said that Beijing's overseas expansion through cheap Chinese electric cars is a narrow trade policy that squeezes other market partners, which will cause Chinese foreign trade enterprises to suffer significant losses. Mr. Lai said, it is also part of the self-destructive pattern of the totalitarian regime. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.